Vivek wants to do an SIP in good mid-caps in each fall in the market, and he wants 6 or 7 different sectors to keep doing an SIP in. There are only so many sectors to talk about, Vikas. I'm guessing you'll have to talk about all of them.
Actually, it's just when you want to invest in 6 or 7 sectors, then I think you can yourself only decide, because I'm bullish on banking as a sector from here on. IT looks good. Then EV is one of the sectors which I like, and I would recommend investors to be putting in their money in EV related plays. Then auto and auto component also look good. Then even cement as a sector looks good. Cement and quality infra companies could also be considered. So these are the few themes which one could look at and look at doing an SIP. And from among these sectors, be with the leader and start putting in money every month or every quarter or whatever duration you want to. And I think in the long haul, you will make substantial money. I'm bullish on India.
Right, bullish on India. And yes, India has always made sure to stand out in this market, a very resilient market. And like I was talking to Rajesh Agarwal also last few weeks ago, saying that India definitely staging a pushpa that jukega nahi. But let's move on and let's talk about a stock that Mukhil wants a query. Mukhil wants an answer on, and this one is for you, Kunal. He is actually saying thank you for the call on NOSL yesterday, and today he has a query on Minda Corp. 2,000 shares at a price of 225 rupees per share. He wants to know what's the immediate target for this one.
So I think Minda Corp, it's a sort of a free-flowing chart for itself. The stock has done reasonably well. Last 1 month, it's recovered from 170 to 224, 225, where the stock is trading currently right now. It's on the verge of a breakout. So I think the breakout on the weekly charts is around 238 for Minda Corp. So if you're looking for a target, I would suggest that wait out for that breakout about 238. Mostly, I think the markets are stable enough. We could probably expect the breakout happening by next week or. And once that happens, the doors open up higher for the stock to head towards even 255 to 260 kind of a trading range. So I would probably take it step by step. 238 is the first level of breakout to watch out for on the weekly basis.
Okay, we've got a question coming in from Shishir Patnaik, who's writing in from Odisha, and he's asking about Nykaa, which he's bought at very elevated levels. This one's for you, Vikas. On the fundamentals, would you suggest a hold for the long term?
Certainly. I think one can hold on to Nykaa. It's a good quality company, and I like the business model of the company. You need to differentiate between the new age businesses which have got listed and which have really eroded shareholders' wealth recently. I think this is a different story, and if one wants to give some time to this stock, I think from the current levels we could see substantial upside. So from the current levels, I think it's a clear hold, and one could also look to add or look to buy it on every declines.
Janvi Agarwal, and she's holding on to 40 shares of Adani Green Energy, purchased at 2,200 rupees per share, and some shares of Adani Power purchased at 300 rupees per share. Wants to know whether it makes sense to continue with both of these counters. What's your take on this one, Kunal? Adani Green and Adani Power, do you think makes sense to stay put with both of these counters from the Adani Group?
See, I would be of the belief that it's better to try and go for trading into these kind of names rather than go for longer term plays. These stocks have run up exceedingly high. So if there is any kind of a correction, the correction could be very sharp and intense to these names going forward. So my suggestion is that you can hold on to these names from a near term, but keep it from a specifically trading outlook and not from a long term kind of a play.
Okay. Deepak from Bengaluru wants to know about Ashok Leyland, which he bought at levels of 105. Kunal, what's the view on the charts? I think this is an attractive level to have bought it at.
So it's an attractive level. Ashok Leyland has also done pretty well for itself. It's been one of the other auto names which has recovered quite well from the 2020 lows as well. When you look at it over the last 2-3 months as well, I think from the Feb or March lows of 95, 96, the stock has done reasonably well for itself. Now about that 140, 145 mark for itself. So it's a stock which has done quite well. It continues to look very attractive with the auto theme. Now looking robust and getting into a more of a multi-quarter, multi-year theme for itself. I think the likes of Ashok Leyland should do pretty well. So you can look at a buy on dips, say closer to 140, could be a good starting point for Ashok Leyland.
Okay, this one is from Joy Sheila Prema, and Bandhan Bank is a counter. He wants a fundamental view on this one, Mr. Vikas, Mr. Sethi. Also, for the longer term, does it make sense to invest in this counter?
No, as far as Bandhan Bank is concerned, from the current levels, I think certainly it can do well. But if one is a long-term investor, I think one should look at the likes of ICICI Bank or an HDFC Bank from the private sector banking space to ride on. Bandhan Bank that way is good, and the stock has shown some resilience in this kind of a market. And from here, I think it can give you short-term returns. But from a long-term point of view, my choice would be an ICICI Bank or an HDFC Bank.
That's the view on the banking space. We've got a question coming in from Shivraj Jagannathan, who's writing in from Tamil Nadu, and he's asking about the Nifty support intraday. What's the view, Kunal?
So I think on the intraday aspect, I would look at either the 50-day moving average, which is at 16,045 or 53 on the spot levels. So round about 16,050 as a support for the Nifty on an intraday basis. But the most stronger support is the psychological mark of 16,000. So the closer we are towards the weekly expiry, the stronger is the probability, or the higher is the probability that the market holds on to those strong psychological marks on the indices, because that's where a lot of put writing or call writing generally tends to take place. And option writers, they tend to protect their key strikes by a margin of 20-25 points. So 16,000 thereabouts could be a decent support from a short-term play.
All right, this one is coming from Shanmuga Sundaram, holding about 50 shares of Hindalco at a price of around 450 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he can average now, looking to hold on to it for the next 1 year. What's your take on this one, Kunal?
I would suggest not to average at current levels. My sense is that these metal stocks are showing, some, I would say, stronger weakness on the charts. I would probably expect Hindalco and such other names to get into a drag mode for themselves. So if you've bought at 400 odd levels, stock is at 345 approximately, I would suggest to wait out for at least 300, 310 kind of a trading range. So don't jump into the, the first phase of a rally for these stocks. Generally, a bottoming out process is a process of at least 1 to 2 months. And we've just completed maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks of this bottoming out process. So another, 3 to 4 weeks should probably, pan out for these names. And in that process, you may probably get the stock a bit more cheaper than what it is at current levels.
All right. View on Marico is being sought. We've got a question coming in from Sai Ganesh Pabiseti, who's asking about Marico, which he's bought at levels of 500. This one's for you, Vikas. And interesting, right? Considering that just now you're seeing a little bit of pressure ease on the raw material front, would you suggest that this is a good time to add onto your holding of Marico?
Yeah, it's a good counter from within the FMCG space. It's a preferred bet, and the investors bought it around the current levels. I think he could look at opportunities to buy. Don't jump into buying it at the current levels. I think if the market's correct or if there is some weakness in the market, there are lots of events lined up over the next few days. So in those corrections, if this stock comes down, then I think that would be a good opportunity to add on to this.
Okay, this one is from Omkar, and he's saying that he's bought Motherson Sumi Wiring for an average price of 68 rupees per share. He wants to know how does this counter look over the medium to longer term, and should he look to buy some more at these levels? What's your take on this, Mr. Sethi, on Motherson Sumi Wiring? It's a newly listed counter demerged from Motherson Sumi. How does this one look to you?
No, again, a good company, fundamentals are good. The stock has been bought at pretty good levels. I think he must be sitting on some profits, but I think he can ride on this. And since he's a long-term or a medium-term view, I think there's no problem in holding on to this stock.
All right, we've got a question coming in from Vishal. He's writing in from Dubai, and he's asking about Balaji Amines or LG Balkrishna. Different industries, of course, but what's the view on the fundamentals, Vikas?
No, both are great quality companies. I've been recommending these stocks. I'd recommended them at pretty much lower levels. Balaji Amines has really done really well, and this is a quality company. Although the stock has corrected in line with the correction which we are witnessing in the market, particularly in the mid-cap segment, but I think this stock would do well from here. And as far as Balkrishna Industries is also concerned, I think it's a good bet. It's into off-highway tires, and the company has been really doing well. So with the kind of traction which we are witnessing in the auto and automobile industry, I think style stocks would also do well. So Balakrishna Industries also be a hold of these levels.
All right, because, yeah, okay, so good. We've got a view on Balakrishna Industries, but I think the viewer was looking for a view on LG Balakrishna. Do you have a view on that?
Auto component company, LG Balakrishna. Yeah, again, that's definitely a good company. It has been covered a number of times, and I think auto component companies are also in a sweet spot with the kind of sales which we are witnessing as far as auto OEMs are concerned. So I think it's time to be with auto component company, and LG Balakrishnan would fit that category.
Okay, this one is coming from Soumitra Joshi, and I believe Soumitra is already holding on to some shares of Bharti Airtel. And this is what he's written. I'll read as he's written it. He wants a view on Bharti Airtel. The stock just needs excuse to not perform, a laggard over years now. Any chance of it becoming a consistent compounder despite the tailwind it lags? Kunal, would you want to go on this one, on Bharti Airtel?
So yeah, I think the stock finds a lot of reasons to consolidate and underperform. But then it's a stock which has done reasonably well. So when I look at the 10-year charts for Bharti Airtel, it's done exceptionally well over the last 10 years kind of a period. So 2003, 4, for example, the stock had gotten into a strong uptrend for itself, and it's just about gotten a lot of strength in the last 2-3 years as well. From 2018 lows when the stock was at 270, 300, it's also done pretty well. So there are certain large cap names where you don't expect that these stocks may compound and give you strong returns on a monthly basis, but these stocks can do exceptionally well on yearly basis. Bharti Airtel is a stock which falls the latter kind of a category. So you have to be patient enough for the stock to perform. Those periods when the stock remains into a silent trading zone, gets into a correction, consolidation, those are best periods to try and buy the stock price. When there is no news flow and no event which is happening into the stock price, that's the best time to try and buy the stock, for example, at current levels. So I would suggest a buy on Bharti Airtel, but more from a long-term basis.
Okay, an interesting question coming in from Ramki, and he's pointing out that the earnings multiples for Balrampur Chini have cooled off just a tad bit since December 2019. Because I have not verified this, but he's writing that based on what he has looked at from December 2019, it has cooled off to what it stands at right now. And he's also asking, with this whole ethanol play, shouldn't your earnings actually improve because of the kind of prices that the government is paying? This is my understanding of his question. Would you pick Balrampur Chini at the current price, or would you pick a couple of others? What's your pick in the sugar space?
No, as far as sector is concerned, I like the sector because I feel this ethanol story is going to go from a long-term point of view. Government is pretty much focused on the 20% blending requirement, which they've announced, and they want to achieve it by 2025. And today morning also there was some news I had read somewhere that the government is giving some relief on excise duty if the blending is to the tune of 12% or 15% on petrol and diesel. So this would augur well for the entire sugar sector. And Balrampur Chini is the leader among the sugar companies in India. It's got a very good capacity of distillery, and it's expanding also. So by, I think, in the next 2 years, they would have doubled their distillery capacity. So I'm pretty positive on this stock, and this is offering a very good opportunity at the current levels. The investor is right in pointing out that the PE multiples have come down because first, the earnings have gone up over the last 2 years, and secondly, the price has also corrected. Meaning not to compare with 2019 prices, but recent highs were around more than 500 rupees, and from there the stock has corrected to levels of 360 odd. I think this is a good opportunity to buy Balrampur Chini from a medium to long-term perspective.
Right. This next query that I have is coming from Sudarshan, and he wants a view on Go Colors Fashion. It's a recently listed counter. Kunal, would you have a view on this one by any chance? Because he wants to know whether he can look to buy this at current market price.
So, not too much of a history, Cheryl, so I would probably skip this query.
Okay, what's your take on this one, Vikas? Do you track this one, Go Color Fashion?
Yeah, again, Cheryl, a good quality company, and the stock has corrected from its highs of around 1350 odd in line with the correction which we have witnessed in most of the textile stocks. But these days, cotton prices have tumbled, and I think that should augur well for these retailers. So I think from here on, this stock can do well, and that would also depend on how the markets behave. But I think if one were to buy into this market, this is also one good company which, from the textile space, which one could look at.
In the banking space, I believe, Vikas, you've already told us what you prefer, but we've got a specific question from Vinod on IDFC First Bank, and he's seeking your view on the fundamentals.
No, again, I think if you're looking at lower priced private sector banks, this is one bank which you can certainly hold on to, and there are a lot of news flow also expected as far as this bank and the merger with IDFC is concerned. So I think at the current levels, this stock should be held on to. And if the market presents an opportunity and the stock comes down to levels of 30, 31 rupees, which it was about a week back, I think that would be a good place to add to his portfolio or his investments.
All right, this next query is coming in from Sagar, and he wants a technical view on Blue Dart from you, Kunal. He's saying Blue Dart is breaking out in the longer term charts. Is this correct? And what will be the target expected in medium to long term for this particular counter?
So yes, the breakout is there for Blue Dart. The stock has gone through a V-shaped recovery from 2015 highs, 7,900. The stock fell to almost 1,800 in the COVID times, and from there it's recovered back towards 8,000 plus, where it's currently trading. Typically, when a stock breaks out of such a kind of a multi-year, high and with a V-shaped recovery, we expect the stock to get into at least a 20 to 25% upside over the time span, which is almost 1/3 of the recovery in the prices. So possibly in the next 3 to 6 months, you can expect a 20% odd kind of a return from those 7,900 levels for Blue Dart.
Okay. We've taken this question before, but it bears repeating, I think. Vikas, if I'm not mistaken, I asked you this, and I'm going to ask you again. A few months back, Captain Ramrao from Pune asked us, and he's asking us today as well. He's got 450 shares of Tata Elxsi, which he bought 30 years back at levels of 8 rupees. And he's saying that he's holding on to this holding like family jewels. The question is, should he continue to do that? Or should he make some money? Should he book some profits and maybe enjoy a nice vacation in Spain with some of the money? He's not asking that. I'm asking it on his behalf because of the amount of money that he's made.
First, compliments to the investor for having got this stock and holding on to this stock for so long. And there is no harm in booking some profits and going on vacation, because you know the way the markets behave.
You to don't tell me only.
That is why it's
this is a good quality company which is bought, but I think valuations look expensive, although the stock has also corrected from its recent highs. But when you compare it with the bigger IT companies, the valuations look pretty expensive. So I think he could book use some funds for vacationing or for his personal purposes, and invest the balance or some amount in the bigger IT companies like a TCS or an Infosys at the current levels, which are looking from a valuation perspective much better than Tata Elxsi at the current levels.
Alex, you cannot use the word vacation and holidaying on a day when it is pouring in Mumbai and all you want to do is just sit at home and enjoy the chai and pakora that you've been asking for the whole morning from all of us here. But let's move on and let's talk about sugar stocks then. And Vikas, this one is coming from Hemanta Datta. And he wants specifically on Balrampur Chini. He wants to know, does it make sense to invest in Balrampur Chini at a current price for the longer term?
Cheryl, I just answered this query, or maybe it was from some other viewer. I like the stock at the current levels. I explained to you the details like the capacity.
Yeah, my mistake actually. I believe the viewer tried to trick us. He's written both on WhatsApp as well as on YouTube as well. So let me move on to this next query that I have. Is coming from Neha. And Neha is holding Endurance at a price of 1,281 rupees per share. She wants to know whether she should book profits now, Kunal, and what sort of targets can she expect for the next 3 to 6 months. She doesn't need funds immediately. She's just a little apprehensive about the market conditions.
So yeah, I think it makes sense to book out profits over here. I think the stock has just risen above its 200-day moving average. I think if I'm not wrong, the 200 DMA was 1450-60 levels for Endurance, and the stock has managed to climb above those levels. Possibly it's also completing a major retracement rally for itself at current zone of 1470-1500 odd. So I think this could be a good zone where you may look to book out profits over here, because if the stock gets into a corrective phase, the correction could be sharp and the stock may come back towards 1200-1250 mark as well.
Okay. Infi, we've discussed TCS and HCL Tech at the start of the program today. But Kunal, this one's coming your way. Ram Kumar, who's I don't know where he's writing in from, but Ram Kumar is asking about whether it can be bought at the current level. Infosys.
Yeah, I think Infosys is a much better chart as compared to the other names. So, for example, Infosys has managed to build up a good base at the 1400 levels. Now, there was an attempt for the stock to try and break below the 1400 mark, but the stock managed to see a good demand or bounce back from the sub 1400 levels, which means twice it's managed to protect the 1400 levels on a weekly closing basis. That I believe is a very strong sign that the stock has established a good support. So closer to 1400 mark, if you happen to see the stock price back again, that could be a good zone where you can look to enter, provided your time horizon is at least 1 to 2 years, if not more, for Infosys.
Okay, Vikas, do you have a take on Sandur Manganese? Because Indumati wants to look at this counter for the longer term, looking to enter this particular counter. So she wants to know how the prospects looking for this one, and also if you could advise when she can enter it.
Sorry, Sadil, I do not closely track the stocks, so I will not be able to offer my comment on the same.
No problem. Kunal, do you track this one by any chance, Sandur Manganese? How does this one look on the charts to you, and what sort of entry levels should Indu look at?
Not really. Even I don't track it.
All right.
Okay. This one's coming your way, Kunal. Technical view is being sought on Rico Auto. We've got Sushil, who's holding 2,000 shares at levels of 48. What's the view on the charts?
So I think it's a chart which is recovering quite well from the previous highs. I think 2017-18 high of 105. The stock had gotten beaten down to almost 15 rupees or 16 rupees, and now it's getting into a recovery phase. 45-46 is where the stock is trading right now. So you can hold on to the stock from a near to medium term play, and I believe if the recovery pans out into the stock price as compared to what we've seen for the mid cap end, then I believe the stock can come back towards 60. That's the first important resistance point, and beyond 60, the stock then starts off into a multi-year uptrend for itself. So I would suggest a hold on at least as of now, and keep 60 as a benchmark target. From there, where you can assess the market conditions as well as the holdings on Rico Auto.
All right, this one is coming in from Amruta, and Amruta wants a fundamental view on Greenpanel Industries for the longer term. Do you track this one, Vikas, by any chance, Greenpanel Industries?
Yeah, it's a pretty good company. Fundamentals are very good, and this company's fortunes depend on the traction which we are witnessing in the housing and the real estate sector. So I'm bullish on the entire sector, and from within the sector, this is a good stock to own from a long-term point of view. So I would recommend to hold this stock, and I think one could even buy at the current levels.
I'm hoping that you have a view on this one, Vikas. Dhruv is asking about a jute company. From what I can tell, this is a company that manufactures jute, and it's called Gloucester Ltd. He's bought at levels of 950. The stock is currently trading at just about 1,000 rupees per share. If you have a view, what should he do? Should he hold on?
I think these kind of companies have very low liquidity. There are very, very small volume which happens in these kind of stocks. So I wouldn't advise investors to be betting on these kind of stocks when we have so much of opportunity elsewhere. So my advice would be to exit these kind of stocks and put your money in some other good quality stock.
Okay, this one is coming in from Mr. Gupta, and he wants to know, Kunal, HDFC Bank 1400 call option, when would be a good level to buy it?
I think the best time to buy a stock like HDFC Bank and the call option is when the stock is actually nearing the breakout on the upside. So in the last 3-4 days, the stock has actually gotten to a corrective zone. So from 1420, 1520 levels, it's come back towards 1375, 77, where the stock is trading right now, which means it's into a downward trend. Now, buying HDFC Bank call option on a downward trend may not be the best trade, because you don't know how much time the stock would take to come back towards 1400 levels. So wait out for that day when the stock comes closer to that 1400 mark, and that happens quite swiftly. Even if you're buying the call option, maybe a couple of bucks higher in terms of premium, that's absolutely okay, because at least you would save on the time value on HDFC Bank call option.
All right. This one's for you, Kunal. Two very different stocks, IRCTC and Tata Steel. The question is coming in, I believe, from Tejas, and he's asking which can be bought at the current price for the best possible return in, he's not given his time frame, but you can maybe suggest, and what target would you give?
Well, I think between these two, I would if given the option, I would choose none, because my sense is that both of these stocks, they can continue to drag or consolidate. So I'm not sure what's the rationale of picking up just these two names. But if I have to suggest something else, then I would probably expect the PSU banking stocks to do exceptionally well for themselves. So you can pick up few names from the PSU banking pack. Indian Bank is something which I like. It's a non-F&O stock trading at 174.75 levels. That stock looks attractive for at least another 5 to 10 rupees on the higher side. So 180 to 185 zone could be a target range for Indian Bank. And Canara Bank is the other stock which I've been very vocal about. That stock also looks attractive to me, at least for another 5 to 10% on the upside over the near to medium term.
Okay, this one is from Rajagopalan, and he had bought Himadri Specialty Chemicals at the rate of around 47 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he should book profits or continue to hold on to it. And if yes, hold on to it is a call. He's saying he's happy to hold on to it for another 3 years if the prospects are good. Vikas, do you track Himadri Specialty Chemicals? What should Rajagopalan do with his holding? Book profits or continue to hold on to it if the prospects are good?
Yeah, Shadil, I do track this stock. It's into manufacture of some coal tar or something related to EV batteries. The stock has done exceptionally well over the past few days, and the reason being there's been some family settlement because of which some dispute among the brothers has been resolved, and that's the reason why the stock has gone up. The stock did not perform at all in the bull run which we had witnessed over the last 1.5 years. And now that the family settlement has taken place, the stock is doing well. It's a good quality company, but since he's bought it at a very good price and almost doubled his investment, I think it would be prudent to book partial profits.
We've got Prashant who's asking a question, and this one's for you, Kunal. Tata Motors is the name of the counter. The question is, can it be bought for the short term? He's asking about key inflation data to come out. I do not know what the rationale is. We just saw retail inflation cool off just a tad bit yesterday for India as a whole, but I do not know if this is in relation to how things will pan out on the demand front. Obviously, I'm asking you on the charts.
So I think Tata Motors looks attractive to me, and I think it's been an underperformer as compared to the rest of the auto pack. So at 431, I would suggest a buy on Tata Motors. And even if you're keeping it from a very short-term place, so for example, a 1 week kind of a time horizon or slightly more than that, then you can look out for 445 to 448 as a target range for Tata Motors, and 420 approximately could be a stop loss for this trade.
Okay, this one is coming in from, we have two of our viewers who've asked, one has asked about TCS, one has asked about HCL Tech, and we did discuss both of these counters at length just before we could kickstart the query segment. But nevertheless, Kunal, just for the benefit of our viewers, one, Debbie Das wants to know, does it make sense to buy TCS right now? And Bharat wants to know that he's holding HCL Tech at a price of around 987, wants to add more at current levels. Should he do it?
I would suggest to wait out for some more time. I believe that these IT stocks and the correction to these IT names is not yet over completely, and you might see these stocks getting into a drag mode. Possibly TCS can come back, as I said, over the next 3 to 6 months. The correction can complete if the stock completes a major retracement. It's a 50% retracement from the previous lows, and that completes closer to 2750, 2800 mark for TCS. And if you have a like-to-like comparison, then we can look at possibly HCL Tech coming closer to 870 or 850 levels as well. So that could be a much better zone rather than at current levels for buying these stocks.
All right. Gentlemen, viewers, it's time for the rapid fire segment, and gentlemen, you know what this means. I'm going to start with Vikas. NMDC is the name of the counter. Bala Murugan from Tamil Nadu wants to know whether it can be entered into right now for a period of 3 years.
For a period of 3 years, I think one can buy at the current levels.
All right, this next one is coming in from Subhash. Arvind Smart Spaces, does it make sense to invest in this for the short to medium term? Do you track this one, Kunal?
No, not really.
Okay, Tata Motors, we've already discussed with Kunal, but I'm going to ask on the fundamentals, and this one's for you, Vikas. Would you sell Tata Motors, which was bought at levels of 432, and swap it with Mahindra and Mahindra?
Not really. I would recommend him to continue to hold on to Tata Motors. Mahindra and Mahindra has already come. I think it's now the turn of Tata Motors.
All right, this one is coming in from KJ Singh. Which is a better option, Mindtree or Tech Mahindra for the longer term, Kunal?
I would say Tech Mahindra would be a much better option.
Okay, Ami Organics is the name of the counter. Mahesh has been holding since IPO. Vikas, what's the view? Should he continue to hold?
I think it should go to this. It's a good quality company.
Hardeep Singh is holding Adani Wilmar at the price of 550 rupees per share, wants to hold it for the next 5 years. What sort of target should he aim at? And Vikas, does it make sense to hold on to it for the next 5 years?
I think it's a good quality company backed by strong group, and I think it will do well. So for the next 5 years, it will certainly double his money.
Okay, double the money in 5 years. City Union Bank, we've discussed some banks, Vikas, but this one in particular, we've got Shekhar from Chennai, who's bought at levels of 165, has a view for the next 2 years. Should he hold?
It's a good quality bank. I think one can afford.
Saroja has Tarsan products at 860 rupees per share. What should I do is what she's asking. Do you track this one, Kunal? Tarsan products?
Not really. I think it's a recently listed
yeah.
name.
Vikas, do you have a take on this one?
Yeah, it's again a good quality company. It was a recent IPO. This company is into manufacture of labware. Company is doing well. I think one should hold on to it.
Sorry, I promised this HDFC. Would you buy Kunal at the current level for 6 months?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Vijay, that's your answer. And that indeed is the end of the rapid fire segment. Kunal as well as Vikas, thank you so much for taking the time as always. And hope you have a lovely rest of the day. We have to slip into a very quick break on this note. Viewers, do stay tuned. We've got more on the other side and we'll be back before you know it.
I just heard your introduction, and what can anybody add to that?
Stock markets is a numbers game, and it sometimes does come across as one-dimensional. But what people don't see is that these numbers, when strung together, tell a story. There's no really black or white. It very much seems to be a work in progress of triumphs and mistakes, greed and fear. And I bring you that story behind the numbers in action.
The personal finance show that helps you achieve all your financial dreams.